Hey guys, welcome to Brights in the Bluegrass, a colorful collection of Kentucky. So today we're going to actually be doing some flowers that are indigenous. That just means that they are native to Kentucky, that nobody brought them over from Europe. They grew here naturally. And so we're doing some purple coneflowers, echinacea I think is the scientific name for it, and some black-eyed Susans, little buttercups. Now we see fields and fields of the little buttercups. And then in our own backyard, we grow these little wild violets sometimes. And so we're gonna put all these together. And I know this looks like a lot, but I promise if you'll stick with me and do step by step, that you're gonna have a great outcome and you're gonna be very proud of your work and you'll enjoy it for years to come. So without further ado, we're gonna get right to it and we're gonna start going over our supply list, okay? So there are some things that you're gonna need. This medium is an acrylic medium, so you're gonna need just a few things out of your bag, okay? All right, so let's look down here. First of all, you're gonna have two canvases, okay? One is a little bit bigger and one is smaller. You want the smaller of the two canvas panels, okay? So a canvas panel is hard and it's got canvas over it, it's been gessoed. And a stretch canvas is the kind that's kind of squishy and it's just material. So, but we're doing canvas boards, and I'm going to tell you why we're doing these canvas boards. Because they are just a little bit easier if you want to frame them. Okay, so you can frame the stretch canvas, but I prefer to frame the boards. I think they're easier to get into a frame. And unless you're doing a stretch canvas that has a nice wide border or side to it that's pretty thick, I just think these look better in a frame. Okay, so you're going to need that. So it's the smaller panel, the hard panel, over the big one. The big one we're not using yet. We're going to do that one with our barn picture, okay? You're going to need, out of your colors, you're going to need your yellow, okay? You're going to need your violet. It almost looks black, but that's a violet, okay? You're going to need your light blue. You're going to need your turquoise, your green. The only things you really don't need on this one actually are the red and the pink. We're going to use those later. So if you'll just put those to the side. And then of course you need a little bit of black and a little bit of white. Now let me kind of go through the other supplies as far as pencils and pens. You're going to need your number 8 round, your 3/4 inch flat brush, okay? You're going to need your Sharpie marker if you want to write your name on the back. And then this little tiny brush here is going to be in your watercolor set. So, or any detail brush that you have is fine. But this one actually comes out of the little watercolor set. And you really don't even need a pencil, but you do need that colored piece of chalk. So you may have a half piece, a whole piece. Yours could be blue, pink, green, I don't know what color yours is, but you do need that soft piece of chalk. These are not oil pastels. Do not use your oil pastels on these. You're also going to need probably 2 containers of water. If you like this little basin, we use them when we have inline or in-person camps, but they're really awesome to clean your brushes with. And then you're going to need another one. You could have 2 mason jars, that's fine. One to clean with and then one to dip in as a fluid medium to make your paints maybe a little bit thinner if you need them to get thinner. So I use one to clean and then one to dip in. You're going to need a rag of some kind or a paper towel. We use rags at our house because we just do so much that we go through the paper towels like crazy, so we can just reuse these and it just makes it a little bit cheaper and a little bit more eco-friendly, I guess. Okay, so what we're going to do is start with just doing a base layer. Sometimes we call these like a underpainting or your background painting. I'm going to move all of my paints. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to include, I just have a little palette here. We're going to give you like probably a little plastic knife or something, because you're not going to work directly from these tubs. You're going to need to put them out on something to mix colors, because we're going to be mixing some colors today as well. And a little tip, if you can get a hold of one of these, they have been awesome. We redid our downstairs bathroom and we put in some new tile, and the tile had a backer on each piece, and these ended up being amazing because they've got kind of a slick spot on them, so that kept them from absorbing the paint. So paper plate will be fine. Even a ceramic plate that you don't mind. I mean, it's not going to ruin the plate because it's washable. But I like to reuse these. I've got several I've just reused, but I want to start with a new one. So if you've got access to somebody in your family that does construction, or when you remodel, these make an excellent palette. Okay? All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at that light blue. We're going to open that up, and we're going to put some blue down with our palette knife. And we want to continuously clean off the palette knife after we use it, because we want to keep our colors pure in our little containers. So the first thing we're going to do is paint the whole board white. Now, do it landscape and then just start painting it in. And I don't know, don't dip out the whole thing. Just dip out a little bit and then we'll see where we're at, okay? And again, make sure you've got something underneath your canvas, because you want to make sure that you don't destroy your furniture. So we just always use a piece of paper. My grandmother did ceramics, and then she did porcelain dolls, and she had rolls and rolls of this, I guess, newspaper paper. Like, you know, the clear kind, like this right here that you're looking at. And so when we came to this house, when we moved in and redid it, it was still here. And of course, we never got rid of it. And so we still have some, and we're using it. I use it all the time as a protecting.
You want to keep it smooth. The drying time.
Okay. So don't forget that when you're putting this in, try to keep it the same consistency all the way across, because as you probably heard Mr. Moore interject there, by the way, he's our video guy. You might hear him from time to time. He reminded me that if you put it in big clumps, then what's going to happen is that you're going to end up having a really hard drying time, and it won't be as easy. Okay, so I'm having to stop, and I'm going to get a little bit more of this blue, and we'll put that down.
Yeah, use that knife for sure.
Yeah, and be sure to use your plastic knife, or it may even be a spoon. It's just whatever we're going to have on hand. I don't really know what we have here, but keep it clean, okay, guys? So we're going to keep on putting that on. And I forgot to mention in the supply list, you are going to want a blow dryer. If you can, get a blow dryer hooked up so you can get it right next to your work. Now, it's not necessary. You don't have to have it. But if you're like me, I get a little impatient and I want this stuff done, and I want it done quickly. So now I'm done with that. And I want to show you a little trick that you can do, guys. So I have this extra blue here. If I take my brush and I pick it up and I wipe it on the side of my container, I don't have to waste that blue. See what I just did there? And then do both sides. Now, do not clean your brush, because we're going to move on to another step to kind of blend our sky in. I want you to get the turquoise. And by the way, if you haven't finished this, it's a good time to pause and just take a minute and get this part done. Okay. So if you pause and you're just coming back, you want to grab your turquoise. And that turquoise is going to, hopefully this is not completely dry. If it is completely dry, then just barely lightly do it. But while this part is still wet, I'm going to take this and I'm just going to get a little bit loaded on my brush, and I'm just going to kind of put some in. And that's going to give me some variation in my sky. Now, the demo piece that I did not do this, and I really wish I had. So I thought, well, we'll do it for sure on the real piece. Okay, and that's about it, guys. You don't need to over blend. If I start over blending, then I'm not going to have that pretty striation in my sky. It's just going to end up being a different color blue instead of having the different texture and feeling to it. So again, I'm going to take my brush, and I'm not going to waste that blue. I'm going to pick it up and I'm just going to slide it right back in my container. All right, so at this point, you do want to clean your brush. So if you just have a cup or whatever, don't smash it down in there vertically. You want to take it and you want to work it side to side. If you do have one of these tins, they're super, or bins, I said a tin. They're super nice because you can work them. But this would just act like this area here has no slats on it. So just keep going back and forth. Back and forth, back and forth. See, it's coming pretty clean. Okay. You might not want to do it over your painting like I did. I just got some water on my painting, which is fine because I was trying to show you, but maybe that's what I should say, what not to do. Okay. I actually took some of my paint off, so just bear with me, guys, as I put that back on. Okay. Awesome.
You got the Bob Ross whisper going on.
My husband's laughing. It's okay. All right. So, anyways, I'm going to clean my brush out again. Now, I'm going to take my blow dryer and I'm actually going to blow dry this. So you are welcome to use your blow dryer and blow dry yours. Or you can wait and pause right now and just let it naturally air dry. But you really do not want to start the next steps until this is completely dry. So I'm going to just go straight to my blow dryer and start blow drying, okay? So make sure it's dry. When it's dry, you're ready for the next part, okay? Alrighty, I think we're dry now. So hopefully yours is dry. You might want to check it just by kind of touching a little bit of it. I know mine's dry. I can put my hands completely on it and they're, well, that's from earlier, but it's completely dry. And if you try to do this next step with it not being dry, you're going to not get the effect that you want, and it's going to end up bleeding, and you're not going to be happy with your results. So make sure it is dry. Okay, so now we're going to move on to our green. And we're going to be doing two steps with the green. We're going to be doing the darker, and then we're going to mix some green, and we're going to do a lighter green. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to pull out a little bit of green. Not a whole lot, just a little bit, okay, guys? All right. I'm just going to leave as much of that as I can off. I'm going to go ahead and clean my knife, okay? Now, your brush is called a flat brush because it's flat. See, the crimping here is flat as opposed to a round brush, which is circular, okay? So you've got really two edges. You could draw, like you just did, we used the flat side of it to create our sky. But if you turn it, you've also got a vertical side. And so what we're going to do now is we're kind of creating the background, and it's not going to have a lot of detail, and that's okay, but we're creating this background. And if you'll look, you can kind of see it's almost like a smiley face. Pretty big smiley face. And if you're really uncomfortable with just kind of freehanding it, you can kind of take it around and just kind of, because you've got to save some sky area. Otherwise, it's just going to be too much.
What are you using there to do that?
Yeah, and this is just that piece of chalk. And we're going to be using this piece of chalk some more. But, and if I get a little bit out of this, it's no big deal. But what we're going to do is we're going to take our brush. Are we in there, Mr. Moore?
We're there, we're ready.
All right, and we're going to dip it in just a little bit, okay, guys? And we're going to, and you might even want to pick this up and turn it because it's more natural. Now, if you're left-handed, of course, you're going to turn it the other way so that you can do it this way. But if you're right-handed, turn it to where you've got it, the smile, the opening is here. If you're left-handed, turn it to where your opening is here. And the only reason I'm doing that is so that it's easier for my hand to flow. Otherwise, you could do it like this. And I actually might do it that way, just as demonstration. Are we on center on the camera?
You can move up just a hair.
A little bit? Okay, right there?
I'm looking, yes.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to do it this way because I think I can. But if you want to turn it to be, if you're more comfortable, you can. Now, we're not coloring in a solid like we did with the blue. We're just doing, think of like blades of grass, okay? So we're just going to kind of start at the bottom and we're just going to start whipping up. Okay? And you can kind of come up here and do some more too. Just whipping in some blades of grass.
Oh, so you're following your arc.
Yeah, following the arc. I don't want to get too much into the blue area. Now see, I went a little over the line. That's okay. But you want to leave some blue sky because when you're doing painting, you got to have a place for your eye to kind of take a break. Otherwise, it just gets so busy that it can be overwhelming. Okay. So that's really kind of enough for right now. So again, I want you to let this dry, and you don't have to clean out your brush. While you're waiting for it to dry, go ahead and pick up a little bit of the yellow, and you can put it right beside that green on your paper plate or whatever you have for your palette. My daughter paints too. She uses old ceramic tiles that are smooth, and then she'll use a razor blade to scrape off the excess. So, while we're letting that part dry, you're going to take a little bit of this yellow and you're just going to put it to the side. And even with what's in your brush, look at what we've just done. By adding yellow to a good hardy green, we've made a new kind of green that's more of a lime green. Isn't that pretty? And the more yellow you add, of course, the more limey it gets. I'm going to leave it kind of like that. And I'm not going to take a whole lot of time to do this, so I'm going to take my blow dryer and I'm going to just blow dry this up a little bit. If you want to pause now and get yours dried, that's fine. You can let it air dry, or you can use your blow dryer.
And don't hold it in one place.
Yeah, don't hold it in one place because it can make it bubble. And I have some thick paint here. I'm not going to worry too much about that. That's okay. I'm just trying to get the majority of it dry. And some people really worry about having thicker spots. You know, it's a painting and it's kind of nice to have some variations. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're just going to take that new mixture and we're going to start filling in some of these other spots. Okay? You may have to mix some more up. But see how it's already kind of giving it some dimension? I think I'm going to make sure the bottom of it's pretty covered. I might even pick up some regular green in there right now. That's okay. I'll put these right beside each other because you can just blend, blend, blend. Just make sure you're not doing this to paint. Make sure you're doing this with the edge. And you could even put some of your lines, maybe there's a breeze. Maybe you have some going in different directions. We kind of make sure that the bottom is covered though. All right. All right. Now I'm just kind of looking to see that I'm satisfied with what I've done so far. Any areas? Yeah, I kind of like that for a background. Okay. So if you're feeling confident, I'm going to show you something else too. You might just, if you got any of that blue at all, kind of pick it up and do a little bit of that with the green. You're going to get another different, darker, more teal light green. Isn't that awesome? Might throw some of that in there too. That'd be fun. All right. Okay, so at this point, I've got some yellow left over, and I think I'll just leave it because we're going to use that in just a minute. So I'm going to clean off my palette knife. I'm going to get it wiped off. And I'm going to, sometimes you might want to take your plastic knife or whatever you got and just clean it off, dip it in the water so, because it sometimes gets stuck. So now I'm going to actually clean my brush completely again. We have to let this portion really dry just like we did our skies. So I'll probably put the blow dryer to it as well.
And if anybody's going to continue painting, that's a good wash station.
Yeah, and if you really enjoy painting, I highly recommend getting one of these. I don't know if Walmart in store carries them. I'm pretty sure they do online. Hobby Lobby has them. Dig Blick, this is where we ordered all of ours. They're super awesome. And when you do that, you can just take your rag and just kind of get it clean. Always kind of put it back in shape. All right. So I'm going to get the blow dryer, and I'm going to start blow drying this step. Just keep it moving. See that chalk line was? You can just take your hand. Once it's pretty dry, do not do that if your paint is still wet. But once it's dry, you can just take your hand and it'll just take that chalk line right off. Alright, mine's feeling pretty dry. Okay? Alright, so now we're ready to use the chalk and we're going to draw in some of our flowers. So I'm going to start kind of right here, and this is going to be kind of at my third, where my thirds intersect, okay? The reason we're doing that, if I were to draw, and I think I will on mine, you don't need to do this on yours, but if I were to draw and break this out into thirds, this is called the rule of thirds, and you've probably heard of it before. If not, let me introduce you to the rule of thirds in art.
Tic-tac-toe?
Yeah, tic-tac-toe, actually. You want something interesting going on, at these points, okay? And so we're actually going to be drawing our first flower at that third intersection, that third intersection. So there's going to be something interesting going on here. And then we're going to be having a cluster of flowers going on here. So it's kind of balanced out in the thirds. And that's what you want, okay? So go ahead and draw, and this one is angled this way, kind of to the right. And you're going to draw in a little smiley face.
Using your chalk.
Using your chalk, right? And then you're going to put in a little cone. That's why they're called cone flowers, so they have a little cone at the top, right? Okay, and then we're going to start drawing in the petals of this one. We're going to do one at a time. And they're kind of long. And they have a little bit of space in between. And then, as you get towards the side, look how long these are, but as you move up, you're going to see that they're going to get a little shorter because we're looking at them as these are bending down towards the back side. Okay, can you see that? All right. So now from there, I'm going to come straight down here, and I'm going to come right here, and I'm going to make another smiley face, and then a cone. And if I'm going too fast, guys, I'm so sorry. Just pause and wait till you get caught up, okay? This one's going to be really spread out. Okay? So it's a smiley face. And you're drawing in, let me see if I can make that a little bit heavier so you can see. Is that better on film there? On the camera, the darker? Is that better? Okay, yeah. He's whispering yes. I'm trying to make it darker. You obviously don't have to make it this dark. I just want you to see that. Okay. Then we're going to make another one. This one was going to the right. This one was kind of headed to the left. So I'm going to have this one kind of headed to the left, but a little bit more centered. Right here. So your smiley face. Then your cone. This is a little fella. He's going to be smaller. And so we're going to bring him out. We're going to do our little curve here. Kind of looks like a spider right now, doesn't it? And our petals are going to get longer. As they go towards the front. And shorter as they go towards the back. Okay. Yeah. Mr. Moore whispered, it's an octopus. I'm going to have a really chunky one right here because he's right in the front. He's got a big cone, but really maybe thin little petals. Okay? So if you're not caught up to this point, you might want to just stop and take a break. If you are, I'm going to do one more cone flower right over here. So if you're just coming back, we're going to do one more cone flower down here in this bottom, I don't want to call it a quadrant because these are not quads. Okay?
Sector. It's the
sector.
It's the bottom right sector.
Bottom right sector. It's always nice to have someone help me with my vocabulary. All right. Okay, so this is going to be the extent of our coneflowers. And you can blow off any of the excess. And I'm going to grab another piece of chalk just so that you can see the difference between the different flowers that we're doing.
Just don't spit on it when you're blowing.
Yes, Mr. Moore, he's so funny, don't spit on it. So now I'm going to use a pink piece of chalk and I'm going to draw in my black-eyed Susans, okay? So up here in the top left quadrant, we're going to find a little circle living. Okay, so draw your little circle. And then we're going to start doing parentheses out to make our little petals for our black-eyed Susans. So it's a smiley, upside down face and then a happy face.
It's naturally just one stroke.
Yeah. We put our bigger flowers in first, and then right here in this section, we're going to have a pretty large black-eyed Susan. So draw your middle section, and then start drawing in your petals. The coneflowers have more of a blunt end, whereas the black-eyed Susans have more of a pointy end. Okay? And then we'll probably draw another little one here. Kind of a side view. These are kind of more of a top view. And then we'll probably fit a small one in right here. And depending on the way yours looks, I'm just going to put in some suggestion of petals here. Then I'm going to throw in another one right here. And they're shorter in the back. If you're going to have petals in the back, if it's a side view, they're going to get a little bit longer in the front. So don't worry too much about what I'm talking about. We'll really talk more about that when we go to paint it. Okay? And then for our little African violets, I'm going to just kind of put some X's for our little African violets. They're going to be here and there. In your composition, you might can put more. I know I'm kind of limited on space on mine. And then the buttercups we'll just kind of put in at the end where we see that we can. So if you're not finished with the drawing portion, you need to pause right now and get everything drawn in. Okay, so here's a nice picture of kind of what you're wanting to do. You want your coneflowers, you want your black-eyed Susans, and then maybe some X's of where you're going to put your little African violets. And then we'll come back at the very end and do our buttercups. So it's a great time to take a pause, and we'll be back in just a minute, okay? All right, so I'm glad you're back. We're going to start by doing our beautiful coneflowers first. So we're going to do those petals. So what I want you to do is I want you to get out that violet. I know it's super, super dark, but we're actually going to do some more mixing. So lay out some purple, okay? Look, you don't need a whole lot. Clean your palette knife. I keep calling it a palette knife, but I'm not really sure. You might have a palette knife, you might have a plastic knife. You're gonna need some white, and quite a bit of white. So get you some white out. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to start layering in our colors for our coneflower. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pick up our number 8 brush, and I want you to get it wet. Okay? That's called conditioning your brush. Don't ask me why, but that's what it's called. And then I want you to start swirling in some of that paint in your brush, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to let that tip, can you see that? We're going to let that tip be our guide for the end of the petal. You see what I'm saying? See how that's going to kind of work? So when you do this, you can pick it up and turn it however you need to, but we're going to let this brush do a lot of the work for us. Might want to pick up just a little bit of white to make it a little bit more opaque, but just like, and always just grab from the edge of it, okay? So just a little bitty bit. All right, so now, so we've got a little bit of purple, or a lot of purple, and just a touch of white. We mix that together, and we're going to let the tip of our brush work for us. So I'm going to start right here. I'm just going to start, I think I'll start over here, okay? So I'm going to work from left to right, and then I'm going to work my way down because I don't want to make anything get smeared. So you're just going to take that brush and you're going to start coloring in. You go right over the chalk lines, it doesn't hurt it. Okay. I'm just coloring in. Once you've drawn your picture, this is all just about coloring in. And don't worry about getting it in the cone area. You actually might even want it to go up in the cone area some, because that way you want to make sure you've got your petals completely taken care of. All right. Awesome. Okay, again, just going to start doing another cone flower, working left to right, or if you're left-handed, right to left. Okay, I'm going to come here. I'm going to set it down. I'm going to follow that pattern there. It kind of has a little bend in it. I'm basically doing one petal and then picking up paint again. And guys, if you'll notice, I'm not using a huge amount of paint. Okay? I'm going to turn it upside down some. He's moving the camera some, guys. Get a better shot. So this is new for us too, doing it this way. But we're learning, so please be patient with us and forgiving as well.
On the job training.
Yeah, on the job training. Learn by doing, right? Okay, continuing on. I'm going to turn it right back again this way. And I'm just going to start by doing our petals. Now, guys, when you do this, sometimes they have little, almost like a little curve in the petal. My brush needs a little bit more water, so every once in a while you might want to dip your brush in the water to kind of make it pull the paint better. If you start feeling like the paint's not going on smoothly, just dip it in water. See how I'm letting the tip of that paintbrush do the work? This is really light pressure. We thought about having music playing in the background, but then you couldn't listen to your own music and not go crazy. So if it's too quiet for you, make sure you have on some music playing, or maybe you've got a friend with you or whatever. But don't get yourself into a point where it's like too quiet, because sometimes too quiet makes me a little, because it's super quiet in here today.
And typically we would have music.
And typically we would, but we felt like that if we put on music, then you wouldn't be able to have your choice of music. So, you know, enjoy yourself. Put on your music. Do what you need to do. Okay. So, moving on. One flower at a time, just kind of going over those outlines that you've drawn. And guys, perfection is not what we're going for. Obviously, this is not a hyper-realistic picture anyway. And so what we're wanting is fun. We want to have fun. We want to enjoy the process of painting, and then we want to have a product that we're proud of at the end. So, you know, just kind of enjoy it. Now, some people paint sitting down. Usually, if I'm painting, I'm standing up. There's no right or wrong way to do it. But our table that we have here is a little bit taller, and it's really nice because then I can look over it.
And in our art camp, we had a split amount of people, or should I say our kids at that time. Some like to stand, some like to sit.
So do whatever is most comfortable for you. Definitely need some more water. And guys, on your brush, when you're doing it and your brush is not getting like a nice tip on it, just roll your brush. See what I just did? Roll your brush and it'll form that tip again. One thing that we've talked about, this style of art camp, even though we prefer to have people in person, doing it like this has kind of allowed us to have the freedom for you to do it whenever you feel like doing it. So if it's really nice outside and you'd rather be outside, this is always here for you. So you can come back and do it when it's not as nice outside. Now, I'm not super happy with the points on these, so I'm going to go back and just kind of, at the very tip, I'm going to just extend it a little bit, just to kind of make more of a point. Okay? All right, and we have one more coneflower here. It's almost just like coloring at this point, once you've drawn in your flowers. Okay. All right, so once you have those painted in, we're going to mix some more purple with more white this time. So you don't need to clean your brush, just go pick up some more white this time and take it right back where it was. And we're going to do another layer. Maybe not that much white. We're going to do another layer, so that it's a little bit lighter than the first layer. So you do want to make sure that that first layer is dry though. Otherwise they're just going to kind of mix together. Let's see if this is lighter. Yeah, it's lighter. Okay. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to take a minute just to blow dry mine. If you need to let yours air dry, that's fine. But if you've got a blow dryer, by all means get that out and let's start drying up the first layer.
Probably top roll.
Sorry, my truck blew away, guys.
Top dust.
Huh?
Top dust.
Truck dust. Since that was a pretty thin layer, it won't take very long to dry. My daughter just came down the stairs and made her. Hey, Kirsten. Alright, so now we're going to do the next layer, a little bit of a lighter purple. And again, take that, let me put this back over here, maybe better in screen here. Take that brush and roll it so that you get your nice point. And then don't cover the entire thing. You're just going to come in and just touch in about halfway down, maybe even 2/3 of the way down. And just press and pull, press and pull. So we're adding another layer. Dink. I like to make sounds. Sorry about that if it happens accidentally. I can't help it. This is a little bit of a faster process than the first step. Okay. Now I like to pull back towards the cone. I think that's easier. Sometimes you may need to even turn it upside down to do that so that you can pull back. Rather than going from the cone back this way, I just rather start here and pull towards the cone area. Okay. Same thing here. Okay. So that one wasn't nearly as taxing as the other first layer or cone flour. Don't wash your brush. Grab some more white and start mixing that in. You get a pretty light lavender at this point, okay? Now, I'm going to use my blow dryer again to blow dry this layer so we can add our, hopefully, maybe our last layer. Not going to go down as far as we did on our second layer. So we went maybe 2/3 down. So maybe this time we're only going to go the top third. Up to that cone. At the very, very end, we'll add some white in, but for right now, I think this is pretty decent. If you want to go back and add just a little bit of a lighter layer, it wouldn't hurt to just kind of put a few little super light petals in here. You can do it while everything is kind of wet. I'm trying to do it like an abstract anyway. So do you see what I did? I just went back and I just picked up a little bit more white without rinsing my brush. I just made it super, super light so that I could come back and just touch in a little bit more of a highlight. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, so I think we're at a pretty good stopping point for the cones. So go ahead and rinse off your brush really, really well. Get it nice and clean. And then dry it off. And then you may set that down at the side. You can blow dry it or you can let it air dry at this point, but you want everything nice and dry so you don't smudge it as we move forward. Okay, so I'm going to blow dry mine. We're going to do is we're going to actually add our, we're going to go ahead and put our stems in for all of our flowers, because if we wait to do it at the very, very end, we're going to have too many of our flowers going on. So once your brush is clean, you want to make sure that you have some more green out. And you can keep some of that purple out because we're going to mix. So I still have about some green, yellow, purple, and white. You can see everything there. Green, yellow, purple, and white. Now, yellow and purple are opposites on the color wheel. So if I mix those together, I'm going to get a pretty brownish looking color. That's what we're going to work on to get our cone flower, our cone of our cone flower. But I can also take a little bit of green and mix it with a little bit of purple. And you're going to find out that we can get a really nice darker shade of green. I think I added too much purple, but that's okay. All right, see how nice and dark that green has become now? So make sure your brush is a little bit damp. All right, I love that color green now. With that detail brush, that smallest brush, let's go ahead and get that dark green worked up. And again, it's just a little bit of, or more green and just a touch of purple. And we've created a nice dark green. So we're going to put in our stems. Now, when we create our stems, if you'll look, this flower is pointing this direction. So the flower is probably, the stem is probably coming at a angle more towards this way. So that's how we're going to do our stem. This flower is this way, so you can just imagine that the stem is more this way, kind of this way, kind of this way. See what I'm saying? And they're probably not, in nature, they're not going to be perfectly straight. They might have a little bit of a curve to them because of the weight of the flower itself. So I'm just going to start over here, and I'm just going to find that center point of my cone. And I'm going to find somewhere down here, and I'm just going to start making a suggestion, really light pressure, guys, a suggestion of a stem. Now, obviously, this flower stem is behind this one, so just bring it down in between. Now, you may not have a flower there, so you may not have to worry about going behind it, and that's okay. But this is our next step. We want to put our stems in. All right, so this one, there's the center of that, and so I'm going to pull down here, and we're going to make this stem right through here. And then the stem, wherever the tip of your cone is pointing is where you want to kind of have that stem coming out from. All right, perfect. Okay. And while we have this beautiful green worked up, let's go ahead and do those daisies, or I'm sorry, black-eyed Susans as well. All right, so this one up here, all right. Now, on the coneflowers, let's go ahead and see if we can draw in a few leaves here and there. Maybe even, we'll just try to put some, maybe some suggestions of some leaves because we're running out of space here, aren't we? I'm just going to kind of put one here. It's that dark color. We'll just put suggestions of leaves wherever we have a spot. It's easier to go ahead and put in some leaves now than it is to wait till the very, very end. Then you're going to feel like you don't even have an opportunity to put in some leaves. And I know this is not completely attached to the flower, but it doesn't really matter because this is an abstract picture anyway. So we're just adding color variation and texture and some playfulness to our picture. You can already see that those leaves have added some dimension to the picture. Okay, awesome. I love that. So now I'm going to take some of that yellow again, and I'm going to mix it with my mixture as well. And then I'm going to go over and I'm going to highlight some of these leaves, maybe all of the leaves, just a little bit, just to kind of give it some dimension. Dink. Okay. All right. I like that layer. I think that really started to add some depth to our painting. All right, so the next step that we're going to do is we're going to actually take some of the yellow and find a little spot for some yellow, and we're going to take some of the purple and we're going to mix those two together. Okay, and what you're going to see is you're getting like a brown color. And that's because they are opposite on the color wheel. And so what we're doing is we're calling it's called desaturation. Pure saturation is what the color is, or the hue is right out of the tube. but when you mix it with the opposite, it really desaturates it. Now this is a brown, but if you look, it really does have some purple undertones. And so when you do that, it's called desaturation. If I added more yellow, it would obviously have more of a desaturated yellow. And then if I added more purple, it would be more of a desaturated purple. But when you add those together about 50-50, they're equally desaturated, and you're going to get kind of a brown color. And that would work with every color that is opposite on the color wheel: red and green, yellow and purple, orange and blue. So if you need a brown and you don't have one, just think about the color wheel and the opposite or the complementary color, and you can make that brown up. So we just made brown. And so we're going to go ahead, and since we've done that, we're going to go ahead and put in our brown coneflower cone. And I may have to mix some more. We'll see. But I just think that is so cool. See all the different colors that we made of purple? Just by adding more and more and more white, I mean, it's just amazing the different variations of lavenders and purples and things that we could get. It's magic. All right. Love, love, love where we're headed right now, guys. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to clean off that brush as well. And I am going to stop to blow dry for just a second. So if you want to, you can just stay on with us as I blow dry, or you can stop and pause if you need to get caught up. So I'm just going to keep working. So if you need to get caught up at this point, pause as long as you need, and I'm going to blow dry, and we'll be back and we'll be ready to do our black-eyed Susans, okay? I'm pretty sure we're dry. So welcome back if you took a break, and if you're right with me, then we'll just continue working. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do are black-eyed Susans. And with our coneflowers, we worked from the dark purple up to a light lavender. With our black-eyed Susans, we're going to kind of do the opposite. We're going to start off with a lighter green, or sorry, green, I was looking at the color green. We're going to start with a lighter yellow, and then we're going to work our way to a darker yellow. So let's, if you don't already have out some yellow, pour out some yellow, and hopefully you've still got some white left. I know I do. And we're going to use our number round 8 again, okay? And we're going to pick up some of that yellow, and I'm just going to kind of get it away from the green. So if you had some green, it's not going to hurt it, as long as there's not a whole lot. I'm going to put that out to the side, and then I'm going to come over and I'm going to pick up quite a bit of white, maybe about 50-50, and I'm going to mix it. When I say 50-50, that means about 50% white and 50% yellow. So white is a pretty cool color, or if you want to call it color, but anyways, white actually, yellow is a very translucent color. And so when you add white to any color, it makes it more opaque. That means you just can't see through it as well. So by adding white to our yellow, we're making it more opaque, which means that it's not going to be able to be as see-through. So it's good to start off with actually a lighter yellow so that we don't have to keep adding pure yellow, because every time we did that, we would just be adding more and more and more layers because it's just so translucent just by the nature of the color. So we've added, and I hope everybody can see the yellow here. Okay, and we've added maybe a little bit more white, maybe a third yellow, and then mostly white. And I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to swirl it so that I've got a nice tip. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to start working from left to right again. And if you're left-handed, of course, work from right to left. And I'm going to start at the top, and I'm just going to start adding in my petals. See how nice that covers? Now, if we had just done straight yellow, it wouldn't have covered like that. Now, I've got lots of little flowers drawn in here, but I'm actually going to make more petals than are drawn, because once I start doing it, I see that I can. And so I'm going to do that. Sometimes the chalk gets thick, but it's just, we use the chalk flowers just to kind of make sure that we have our composition the way we want it. We have things kind of laid out where they're going to go. So you can vary. So what if I didn't have a petal here and I want to put a petal here now because it would look better? Then put a petal there now because it will look better. You know, don't get caught up on, oh, I didn't have that drawn there. Now, is it okay to do just what you have drawn? Absolutely. And that one actually ended up being exactly what I had drawn. And I just turn this as I need to. Just like you did with your chalk, you're just doing a parentheses one way and then the other way. And don't worry about your chalk mixing in with your paint. I actually kind of like the effect that it's giving. Alrighty. So that's what you're going to do for all of the Black-Eyed Susans. Let's go ahead and go down here to this one at the bottom. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. On the back side, just kind of barely do some small, because those are the petals that you can see the top, but then the bottom part, the longer part, you're only seeing the top part. The long part is on the back side, and it's draping down behind it. So that's why you only see this portion of it. Same thing here. A little short backside. As I move towards the front, you can see more of the petal. You ever catch yourself making funny faces when you're doing art or someone says something? I just caught myself with my tongue kind of pursing through my... I'm just saying that because yesterday my husband said, I like watching your faces you make. So apparently I make lots of faces. He's over there giggling. LOL. It's absolutely beautiful outside today. A little cloudy, but the weather is really, really nice. Oh, I'm sorry, you probably couldn't see what I just did there. The whole thing picked up. I apologize. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to have to mix a little bit more yellow because I've ran out. So just give me a minute. You may have to stop and do that as well. So I've heard that there is a rush on swimming pools this summer. Lots of people are staying home for a vacation, and it's hard to find a swimming pool, like one of the, you know, little quick set pools. So many people are staying home and they want something fun to do at home. All right. Okay, so I'm pretty sure I've got those in. This one right down here, I'm looking at it and it's not quite as opaque as I want, so I might just go right back over the top of those that I've already created, just to make them a little bit more opaque and brighter. So you look at your composition and see if there's any spots that you feel like maybe didn't show up quite as bright as you wanted, and go over them. Okay? All right, so I'm going to clean out my brush. I'm going to start letting this dry a little bit. But while I'm working on letting it dry, go ahead and get out some of the yellow again if you need to, and put some more of that on your paper plate or your palette. All right. Da, 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 da. And then wipe that utensil that you used to get that paint so that your palette knife is clean again, and your brush is clean. And so take just a minute to let it air dry or blow dry. So since I'm letting mine blow using a blow dryer, I'll just go ahead and keep working through this. Again, if you need to stop to get caught up at this point, this would be a good time to pause. So blow drying starts now. So either welcome back or let's continue on. So at this point right now, I'm going to go ahead and use the yellow straight from the container, okay? So I'm going to get a little bit of yellow on here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go right back to those Black-Eyed Susans again, and I'm going to lay in a layer of the brighter yellow for every petal. Now, every second petal I'm having to pick up some paint. You might have more or less. Keep it going towards the center. Don't worry about that center, it's disappeared. We'll come back in a little bit and throw that back in. These are a little bit longer, so I'm kind of edging out a little bit of the petal itself on one side. Forgot this little fella down here, didn't I? The little fellow. Small but important. All right. So, once you have that done, I'm going to go ahead and clean that brush. At this point, if you would like, you can go ahead and get your detail brush back out. And using that same yellow, if you want, this is an optional step. You don't have to do this. I'm going to do this, but you can take that detail brush and you can just kind of outline the petals. It's going to take a little bit of time, but I like how it works, how it looks when it's done. It gives it some more definition. Make sure you're painting on the inside of where the paint is. Don't try to go on the outside of it. See what I'm saying? This would be the outside right here. You want to do it on the inside. On the little ones especially, I'm kind of coming through and making those points on the petals. I wasn't really happy with the bluntness of them. I wanted them more pointed, and so you can use that detail brush to come in and put that little point on them. May have to do a second layer, like on this little flower here. I'm definitely putting in a second layer to get that point. All right, I'm going to turn mine again so that I can, and you see how it's not, I'm just kind of laying in this outline. It doesn't have to be like right on it. Just to kind of give it some definition. And don't cover up all that other color that you put on, because you don't want to cover up your details. If you're going to cover up your layers, then don't do layers, just do one color, right? So you want to have all of those layers showing. Okay, there we go. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Point these out just a hair. Oh, and by the way, even I know we talked about how we mix complementary colors to make a brown and how they don't mix well together, but they always look good together. That's why Christmas colors are red and green, and you know, blue and orange look so pretty together. Your complementary colors look great together. So in this composition, one of the reasons why it works is because of the rule of thirds. We've got things going on that are interesting in those, I've lost my words right now, in those quadrants where the thirds land. But it's also because of the colors that are opposite on the color wheel, like the yellow and the purple. So we have yellow and purple, and so they blend really nice together too. And a lot of times you'll see things like orange and blue mixed together, and they look beautiful. And like I said, we talked about red and green, and any variation of those as well. Like orange, red, and blue, green also look really, really pretty together. Love, this is called a split complementary. We've got red and the blue green, and that was, you know, very popular back in the 50s. We had lots of those retro colors where it was red and that turquoise. And look how beautiful those two colors look together. So that's why these colors look well together as well. So we're going to mix some more of that brown together to do the center of our Black-Eyed Susans. We'll continue using our detail brush, and then if it's not dry by then, we'll have to blow dry. But you're going to get some purple, put it right back where you had it. Grabs about the same amount of yellow. It's about the same amount. And then just start mixing. Look at that, it's just amazing. Ta-da! So if you're painting and you don't have brown, but you have purple and you have yellow, or you have any of those other complementary colors, you've got brown, folks. Now, on the Black-Eyed Susan, whereas the coneflower is more of a cone, the Black-Eyed Susan is more of a cylinder, but like a short cylinder, like a soup can, but little bitty and short. So we're trying to make more of a block looking thing here. So it's not going to come to a point, it's going to come to a block. So I'm going to go across here, and then I'm going to come straight down like I would a soup can. And then I'll do a little bit of a smiley face, but it's more of a block and not a cone. Okay, see what I just did? I mean, it's got a little bit of a lip there, but not an actual point. So do that again on another one. Go straight across, come straight down. And if you're hearing me talking but you're not watching, I highly recommend that you watch me do at least one or two of them and then come back and do your own. I'm a very visual learner, so I learn by seeing. And I know a lot of you all do as well. Okay. So now, what about these that we're looking at them almost straight on? So if you were looking at a soup can from straight on, it would just be a circle. And so we're going to create a circle. Now, does it need to be a perfect circle? No. No, nature is not perfect. So we're going to just kind of come around and make a imperfect circle. Imperfect. I said imperfect. 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 Okay. Brown's really working out nice. It's not completely dry here, but I think we're in good shape to. This time I'm going to kind of map out my circle before I start pushing it in. And I'm just laying my brush down with my tip of my brush going out from the center. Can you believe it? We are almost finished, guys. Almost finished. There's a few more details to do and we'll be there. Okay. Gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. All right, so we're going to do our African violet. So we're going to use some more of the, the violet, but we're going to add a little bit of the turquoise back in. Now on this time, you're just going to need to get out just a little bit of turquoise, not a whole lot. So you've got your turquoise, your violet, and your white, okay? We're not drawing this out because I think we're just fine just kind of doing it by hand. So grab a little bit of that violet and let's start mixing it with that turquoise. Okay. So we've got almost like a blue. Okay, now we're not finished mixing yet. I want you to pick up some of that white. We're going to add that in. That's going to give us a nice light blue. Not like our sky though. Might add a little bit more purple. Yeah, I think that I like that color. Yeah. So, I mean, get it to where it looks more like a blue violet more than just the blue. All right. So now I put down XXXX and an X of where I wanted my violets to be, but it may not work exactly that way. What you're looking for now at this point is you're looking for places where you can put a filler, okay? So if you've got some spaces that just don't seem like they're quite filled in enough, this is where you're going to put those violets in, and then the last step, of course, will be our buttercups. So just grab your the mixture that you've made, and if you need to stop and get that mixture right, it's perfectly fine to do that. You know, I did a little mini thumbnail of this, and then I did it with pastels, and then I painted it, and so I've had practice at doing this, so it's okay if you have to stop and mix those colors, especially if you're not used to mixing colors. don't worry about it. Stop. And you get faster and faster at doing this stuff the more you do it. So hopefully you're learning about mixing colors as we're doing this. So really what's happening as you're painting these pictures is we're trying to include little mini lessons as we go. So, you know, there are lessons within the actual picture itself. And hopefully, if we've done our job right, when you're done with this project, you can take these lessons that we've taught you and you can move them into your own compositions and create your own works as well. So anyways, I've got my blue going, and the little violet kind of, let's do a little shape right here. You're going to be doing 5 petals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and at the end they almost look like a little heart. So if you, of course mine's kind of, my brush is getting, I'm gonna need some water. So if you want to, you can kind of do like little heart ends. Not perfect. So kind of get something to that effect going, and then we'll come back with the white and do our center in just a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and just wipe that up so it doesn't completely destroy the back of my paper. So we're going to start over here. And I'm actually going to go right on top of where that petal is, or that stem is. So just, and I put in an X, but you know what, that was just for positioning. So I'm going to put in, and I'm going to make a little heart to come down to the center of that X. Okay, so you might want to watch me do one first, and then kind of take off and do your own. Okay, so you can almost make like a V and then fill it in. Okay, I need 2 more. So I'm going to turn it around. So I've got 1 petal, 2 petals, 3 petals. There's 4. And there's 5. Okay. Do the same thing again. So yeah, I think that's the best way to do it, is just make a V and then fill that V in. I'm going right over that leaf that's there. That's not going to hurt anything at all. This gives it depth and dimension, because these now are on in the foreground. These are in front of those. Okay. Okay. Then I'm going to have another one down here. And again, you don't have to have yours exactly where I put mine. Where you have holes is where you want to put one. Where you think you need something of interest, just put it there. And I'm going to do a camera check. Mr. Moore, how are we looking as far as what you can see? Is everything good and shot?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I just want to make sure every once in a while, because I want to make sure you guys can see what we're doing here. have room for another one over here. A little bit of water. My brush is getting, once you see your bristles start to spread out, you probably need a little bit of water. Just because your paint is starting to maybe get a little bit dry. Did you hear my southern come out on that dry? Your paint's a little bit dry. I don't think any of the Southerners that I've been around really understand how incredibly Southern we sound until we listen to ourselves on a tape recorder. And then you go, oh, wow. And I didn't put it in at the beginning, but I have a spot right here. And I like to do threes. So I've got 1, 2, 3 violets here. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do a third here. And it's kind of in a triangle. And so that triangles look nice in nature. So we have a triangle here. We have a triangle here. We have a triangle here. Opposites look good. So we're just going to throw one in right here, even though it wasn't planned. And you can look in your picture, because I know yours is going to look completely different, and that's good. So it's amazing how you can do, even like I've done this twice now, and so this one doesn't look like my first one. And nothing I ever do ever looks exactly the same as the first time I did it. So it's always good to have that knowledge that if yours doesn't look exactly like something that you've been taught, it's not a bad thing. It's really okay, because what good would the world do if everybody did everything exactly the same? Not a lot of personality in that, is there? Okay, so I'm really, really happy with the way those turned out. And just for time's sake, I'm going to go ahead and get my blow dryer out and blow dry this area so we can move on. If you need to pause, that's fine, because we'll come right back in just a minute, okay? Good to go for our very next step. And I think at this point we want to go ahead and grab some of our white and our detail brush again. And there it is. So I've lost my detail brush. So get your detail brush wet, and we're going to grab some white, some more white, and we're going to mix it again. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to take some of the blue and bring it down to the white and mix it down here. Oh, yeah, there you go. So I'm getting a super, 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 I'm trying to make sure. Can you see that? Are we in camera? Right here?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm getting a super, super light color. I'm getting my brush wet so that I get a very fluid, liquidy kind, not super, you know, I mean, you won't want it watercolor, but you want it to be loose. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go over those African violets, and we're going to actually kind of outline them, and you're going to see them just like come to life, okay? So let's move it to where we can get to one. We're going to be working on this one, and I'll dip the tip of my brush in my paint, and I'm just going to very easily starting to outline. And it doesn't have to be completely outlined to do this, just some random spots. And then when I'm finished with that, I'm going to put in a little center. Okay? So load your brush, roll it out, and then do petal by petal. in that center. Okay. Then I'm going to rinse my brush again just to kind of get most of the paint off. But I'm going to go and I'm going to pick up some more of that paint still. Actually, I might even go back into my purple. To paint brush wet. Go back into that super light purple. Probably still have some there later. But let's put in some centers in these petals with that purple. Oh, I love that. Oh yeah, that's lovely. Just a little line down each petal. All right. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. Okay, so we're going to do our buttercups, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually mix what white I can get. If you need to get more white, you can get some more white. Let's see what I can use here that's not already mixed in with another color. And I'm going to mix a lot of white with some yellow because I want it to be pretty opaque. And what I'm going to try to do is get it all in a big nice pile, because I'm going to see if we can't use our flat brush, the tip of it, to make our nice little flowers. So let's just see if we can use the tip of that. And let's come down here and we're going to make 5. 1. You have to dip every time. 2, 3, 4, 5. You have to swirl it around a little bit. Yeah. So I'm swirling it, picking up some color, and just put them in random places where you think you might need a little filler. There's 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5. Make sure it's pretty loaded up to do this. And I'm having to circle it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, maybe here. 1, 2, 3. Okay. I'm looking back and seeing if it feels balanced. Okay. I think I'm going to add a few more, but this time I'm not going to use the end of this because I'm going to use the very tip of this because I want them to be a little bit smaller. So I might add another one. If you want, you can fill in some of those petals that didn't quite get filled in with your other brush. Maybe I'll add another one, a little one here. A little one here. All right, and then I'm going to go in and pick up some more white and just put a white point in the center. All right, are we finished? Not quite, because we are going to do just a little bit more in white as our final highlight. So we're going to just get out a little bit more white. You don't need a whole lot. And let's take our detail brush, kind of load it up. And we're going to go and we're going to put some white highlights on our Black-Eyed Susans here. So you can touch, press, and pull up. Touch, press, pull up. Yeah, that's nice. All right, and then the very last thing you want to do is you want to add a little bit of yellow to the tips of the coneflower. As far as the coneflowers are concerned, we're just going to add some little dots of yellow. You can do that for all your little coneflowers. Still using that detail brush. Randomly put those in. And then you do have just a little tiny bit of black, and you don't even have to take it out. So when you get your black, if you want to just use this straight from the tube, that's fine, or straight from the tub, that's fine. You can just grab some of that black, and we're going to put that in the Black-Eyed Susan. So just kind of start putting little dots in that Black-Eyed Susan. Can't be a Black-Eyed Susan without black now, can it, right? Make sure you let some of that brown show through. go back with the black and put a little tiny center in these violets. Oh yeah, I like that. Is there a tiny center in the little violets? I don't know. But it looks pretty. All right, and so now you want to take your brush, or if your Sharpie marker, if everything is dry, and you can sign your name. I'm going to actually use the Sharpie marker. I just think it's a little bit easier. And so I'm just going to sign down at the bottom. Okay. And you sign your signature. Make sure it's dry, or you'll ruin your Sharpie marker, and we need that. So when everything's nice and dry, you can go back and you can take a clean cloth. Well, let me just demonstrate. Let me blow dry this, and I'll show you what I'm talking about, okay? Okay, I'm not sure if I'm completely dry, but I'm going to kind of give it a go. Get a clean cloth and some clean water and just put your finger in that, and we can start cleaning up some of those lines. Now we're not scrubbing, we're touching. We're just really just touching and getting any of those chalk lines off. It's almost like we're just erasing. So just barely, barely, barely touching. And again, please make sure it's all dry, because if not, you could very quickly have a mess that you would have to clean up, and you don't want to do that. Okay, so I'm going to move over a little bit. I'm going to get another clean spot, dip it in some clean water. See that? It's just amazing. Just cleans up so nicely. I like the chalk method a lot. Once you take off those lines, you're going, wow. Okay, find another clean area. Look at that. So neat. Okay. Trying to see if there's any other areas. All right. So now, final recommendation for your painting. We didn't include these, but this is Krylon. It's a varnish that you can put on your artwork, and it even has the little brushes up here. If you want, you can use this to kind of seal it. One of the awesome things that this does is it actually makes your colors look more vibrant. And so I'm not going to do the whole thing since we're inside, but I'm going to just kind of give you a sample, if I can get it open, of how it brings out the colors in your painting. So let's just look down here at this area here, and I'm just going to do a little section. If I have some in here, I may have to do it like this. Yeah, here we go. Wow. Okay. Now you can kind of see it's gotten shiny, and the colors here, just look how much more vibrant they are than on this side. And it's and even my signature, look at how much more vibrant that is. And so I highly recommend doing that. So then if you put it in a frame, you don't even have to have the glass in there. It's just going to be sealed. It can be wiped down if something gets on it. Protects your painting. So picture of you, and I'm not going to pull this up too much because I don't want you to run. Take a picture of you, ding, check, 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 with your artwork and post it on Moore's Art Camp or at on Instagram at Don D Moore Art. And I cannot wait to see some of these pictures coming in. Thank you so much for sticking with it. I know it's a long project, but all of these little things that you're learning about layering and putting in different values of color, you can apply these to every project that you do from now on. And so hopefully you've taken a lot away from this lesson, and can't wait to see you again. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.